Right. All right, here we go. Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations off the timeline and go beyond the tweets. I'm your host, Los Def, and I'm back here for episode 146. Here solo with y'all, man, trying to stay consistent. If you're new to the channel, man, I would appreciate it if y'all could keep the channel growing and if y'all could hit the subscribe button, man. If you like something that I say, if you're entertained by it, hit that like button. If you got something to say, you want to react to something, you know what I mean? Maybe you disagree, maybe I'm talking crazy, maybe I'm spitting facts. Leave a comment, and then if you think somebody can somebody else can be entertained by it, somebody else can benefit from what we're talking about, then I want you to share that content as well. Yeah, man, try to stay consistent, man. We keeping it rolling, and man, we've had this podcast, man. We've been fortunate enough to just have we're in a content stream right now, like a lot of things are just flowing, and the content kind of creates itself, right? The content creates itself. There's things that we need to kind of update as we go on, and we're just getting new developments week by week, partly because of all this like rap beef that we've been seeing, but then all these other headlines as we going on. We're gonna talk some sports today, right? We're gonna talk about Caitlin Clark. We're gonna get into some of the details about her Nike deal, right? Because we reported last week that she got about $20 million, because that was the figure. So we got an actual figure, and we also got a length for that contract. And we're gonna kind of gonna get my take on it, and I want to hear y'all comments on this. What do you think about her deal, and how it stacks up against some others, right? So yeah, we're gonna talk about that. We are gonna talk a little bit about Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, right? So in terms of sports, we're gonna get into that. We might have some time to touch on the playoffs. We definitely gonna talk about this rap beef stuff that's been happening. And how Drake's latest move, how it might have landed him in some hot water, right? So we'll get into that, and some of y'all might know what I'm talking about. Talking about Taylor Made. We're gonna get into the legal aspect and what people are trying to claim and things like that. Yeah, let's get into it though, man. So I just seen a video today. Like, this was just today, and I thought it was just great. I thought it was a great video. And it's about women, right? And this is from a woman. So here's the thing too. When we do talk about some of this stuff, like, perception, society type stuff like that, I tend to try to lean towards like women talking about like what the certain things that women do, right? Because then I feel like you ain't fully safe, you know what I mean? But it insulates you a little bit. It gives you a little bit of credibility when you know what I mean? It don't feel like you just like I'm not bashing a woman, but this is something that we see. This is something that we see because women have a lot of power. Women have a lot of power. Like, as much as it is still kind of a man's world. It is a man's world overall, I think, but like women do kind of like run the world, and they always have in some ways, right? Like, in terms of like they influence so much. You know what I mean, and what we're gonna talk about is like how they influence language, right? How they influence language. So let me share this video with y'all, man, and we're gonna react to this, and then we're gonna get into some of this other stuff though, man. So let me do this here real quick. Oh, make sure my sound is right. Okay. All right, let's get into this one. All right, so it says, I'm so impressed at women's ability to change the definition of words because y'all have made the word provider synonymous with trick. Don't y'all feel that? Like just that caption alone is fire, man. But let's see what Shorty got to say, man. Let's see what Shorty. All right, let me make sure this. I gotta move this out the way sometime. Here we go. Let's see. Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's see what she got to say.
Power is truly unmatched because the way y'all got on the internet and changed the word of provider to a trick, It's gotta be top 10 most dastardly things I've ever
Dastardly.
seen on the internet. Like
Dastardly.
asking a man to be a provider and he's not your husband has to be the great, like, top 10 craziest things I've ever heard. Cause you really just want this man to pay your bills, and y'all are gonna come up with words to trick men into thinking that if they're not doing this for you, they're not even a man.
Mhm.
Then when somebody brought up the logical fallacy, like it's plenty of men, or men was like, I make money, I'm not spending money on you. Y'all changed it to, but I want a provider, generous, kind, giving, non-stingy man. Nothing's worse than a stingy man. Like, and it's crazy is women came up with the word mansplaining as if women are the definition of, like, I guess you have to now call it womansplaining. Like women literally change the definitions of what stuff is. Like before, if you go look at the dictionary of a narcissist or somebody with narcissism, this is something with people in like 1% of the population. Women change the word narcissist to anybody that they don't agree with. Anybody with self-confidence. Anybody that don't put up with their bull crap. He a narcissist now. I have to. Women's power.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about this. So, I think she's spitting facts, right? Like 100% facts there. Makes a lot of good points. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. So, we're probably gonna have that part of the show and things like that video. Like, obviously you're gonna see it on the full episode, but in terms of like clips, probably gonna include that, right? But here's the thing, real quick, right off the bat, women are vicious, right? So, and this is not me making this judgment call, but I've just seen this overall with women and how they react to other women. So, one, right, some women will automatically call her a pick me, right? They'll call her a pick me and they'll say, like, oh, she just, you know, basically just siding with men so men can like her, right? So that's one thing. You might already hear women saying she's a pick me. Then you're gonna get women that criticize that woman based off of their appearance, like her appearance, right? And whatever perceptions they have of her, and maybe what I mean, her beauty and things like that. And like they gonna probably make it seem like, well, yeah, girl, it's because you can't get XYZ type of man, right? Like you can't get that type. Like we're gonna like that is possible. That's possible, right? But if we taking what she's saying, yeah, like I think just over the years, and as we are talking more about men and women, and we are talking about gender roles, which is that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing to talk about these things, right? Because at the end of the day, right? And people do get mad at these conversations, but at the end of the day, because I feel like I'm trying to come to middle ground, we are trying to improve society, right? I mean, that's why we're having these conversations. We are trying to do better than our previous generations. That's why we're having these conversations. We are trying to reduce divorce rates and single parent households and all these other statistics and all these other stereotypes. Like we're trying to overcome these things, so we do have to kind of face some of this stuff head on, right? So yeah, like when we talk about providing, right, there are a lot of women that will die on a hill about a man providing. And but when you hear them talk, and depending on who is the speaker, right, um whoever depending on who the messenger is, some of that providing does sound like tricking, right? Some of that providing sounds like paying for beauty aesthetics, paying for bills, right? And we're talking about paying for bills of a household that a man does not even live in. Like, so, but like like a woman needs to know that he can provide for her, like, and this is before they're even in the house, because don't nobody want no 50-50, right? Like that's and this, we're not about to start a 50-50 conversation. I'm not going there, but there's a lot of women that are adamant about that. But like what she's saying is that, like, even that role of provider, that's not reserved for regular relationships. That's not reserved for people that ain't living in the same household. That's not reserved for people that are not married. And here's the thing. Ain't nothing wrong with a woman having certain standards in terms of finances, right? Because they should be worried. And that's the thing. because we don't want to go on the deep end. We don't want to go like totally left and say that, look, no, it's about the person, and it's about this, it's about who they are, and money don't matter, right? We live in a vicious capitalistic society, right? So money does matter, man. Money matters a lot. And it literally changes your lifestyle. It does change your lifestyle. It might not make you fully happy, but it definitely changes your lifestyle, and it gives you options. And a woman should be concerned with a man's financial stability. So like in the courting process, in the dating process, yeah, she should be able to see like, okay, can this man, like, I always feel like, a woman probably shouldn't even want to live with a man that hasn't lived by himself, right? Like that has not shown that he can hold it down, right? So that for me, like I'm in a position where yeah, like I can, like, when I was younger, when I was really like younger, and we talk about like splitting the rent and things like that, like because that's where I was at in my life, right? But I've created a sense of financial stability and security to where like a woman would not have to, like, if I'm living with a woman, and obviously like we talking about comparable, like, mortgages and rent prices and things like that, like to what you feel like you can maintain. I feel like, yeah, like a woman would not have to um I do live by myself. So like a woman, if she would come into my space, or if like I would get with a woman and we would agree to have a space, I know that there's a budget, there's a certain amount that like I know I can take care of, right? And yeah, sure, I'll pay the mortgage, you know what I'm saying? And I'll do this, whatever. But like the 50-50, right? It's not a monetary 50-50, like split down the middle. It's about sharing responsibility, you know what I'm saying, to an extent. But like when it comes to money and it comes to providing, yeah, can you provide that roof over that woman's head? Can you create that world? You know what I mean? And that ecosystem, and provide that for that woman. And I feel like, yeah, I can do that. But a lot of times when we talk about providing, we get into a lot of frivolous stuff that like don't matter. Like I remember a couple of months ago, right? I had that, it was a Hispanic woman, right? And she was talking about how she was tired of, like, she was coming to like the internet for advice because she called her boyfriend broke. And she was upset because he couldn't buy her gifts. He couldn't buy he didn't have the expendable money to take trips and things like that. Like, and for some women that's considered providing, but that's not, like, a lot of those things are just extra. Like those are extra things, and that is where the woman comes into play, and like her, because here's the thing, women work now. You know what I mean? This ain't the old days where women ain't working and they can't work and they can, women have, there are women that are men and women are competing for the same jobs now. Like it's not like back in the day when, yeah, they couldn't work and it was just men working. We're competing for the same salaries. And some women make more than men. Some men make, there's still a lot of men that make more than women. But um just her coming at her man, and he was a homeowner, right? And like she didn't look at that as providing, because I guess because she had her own, right? And so sometimes that's where the disconnect be too, because like a woman will look at like something like that, like a mortgage, or like if she's a homeowner, and she might think of it like, well, I don't need no man because I can already do this, so what can you provide? So for them, providing is all that extra stuff, when no, it's like, no, we can come together. I'm going to provide the things that we need, the foundation that we need, and then everything else is icing on the cake, right? And that's where she can come into play. But sometimes there are women that kind of minimize that, especially if they are kind of bossed up, like they might minimize certain things like home ownership, and they don't look at that as providing, and they want those extra things, but it's like, no, that some of that is tricking, right? Some of that is tricking. She said something about mansplaining, right? So yeah, like, there's a lot of, mansplaining is a thing, right? Because for years women have, had men have to like, tell them certain things, and they don't, maybe these women don't like correction. Maybe they don't like to be taught anything, or it's something that they already know, and they feel like, there are men that are like condescending when they explain certain things. So it becomes this mansplain. But like, aren't women, and with some of these conversations, aren't women just as condescending in certain aspects, right? When they're talking about this and that, because I think there's a lot of men that understand what's going on, but it's like we're getting the female slaying of it. So like, is that woman splaining? The narcissist thing. That's a classic one too, because yeah, we are like self-diagnosing, and like, people are not that is a mental health disorder, right? That's a personality disorder when we talk about narcissistic personality, right? Um, and there's a lot of people that just throw that word out there for people that, yeah, maybe that a man is confident, maybe a man is not willing to put up with X, Y, and Z. So like, they get labeled a narcissist because things don't go their way, right? Like, we hear that a lot. The word toxic masculinity, right, gets thrown around, but it's like, no, like, that's not a term, that's not a real thing, right? We're talking about masculinity. You're deeming certain things as toxic, right? But certain things are just masculine. And but we don't talk about the flip side, where there's definitely, if there is, because that's the thing, it's not one without the other, right? Like, it's a dichotomy. There's always two sides to something. Like, if you're gonna create one position, there's gonna be a polar opposite. So like, but we don't talk about like female toxicity, or toxic femininity. Like, we don't talk about that type of stuff. And a lot of times there's not a place for men to kind of get that type of stuff off. But no, I think she's speaking facts, man. Providing is not what we, it's not tricking. It's something deeper, and it's something bigger than that. So what do y'all think, man? What do y'all think? Was she spitting some facts there? Did she make some sense, or does she kind of get discredited for a number of reasons? I don't know. But what do y'all think, man? Leave a comment below, and chime in on this, man. Let me hear your thoughts here. All right, man. We're gonna react to another video here, and this one is about kind of like families and things like that, and again, talking a little bit about gender roles, like this next video. But yeah, this is a guy talking, and I think he kind of goes off the rails a little bit. He goes off the deep end, and he kind of says some things about parenting that just, for me, it don't sit well with me, and it's just, I couldn't disagree more with some of the stuff that he was saying. But let's get into it. Let me share this screen again. Oh, yeah, let me get out of this one. Yeah, let's get out of this right real quick. All right. Yeah, let's go to this brother right here, man. So,
Women are lovely because you
all right. So this guy was on the No Fugazi podcast, so which No Fugazi podcast is a very red pill centered podcast. And the one thing I say about, I think the host, I think he does a good job. I think the host makes a lot of good points about certain things. However, I think, just like a lot of red pill podcasts, especially ones where they get like a panel of people on there, they get women on there. I think a lot of times, man, these podcasts, they cherry pick their guests, right? They I don't know what the screening process is, but it always feels like they're getting women that just, maybe that don't really always know how to articulate themselves. They always get women that live a certain lifestyle. They do get women that are opinionated, right? And the thing is, they don't have to, obviously they want to get people that kind of disagree with certain points. But also too, like, the only thing with some of these red pill podcasts is that it always feels like we are creating division a little bit, and that's where people talk about like, yo, these podcasts, oh, it's always putting men against women, and really we need each other, and that's true, right? It is that. So I think sometimes on a podcast like this, even though like he makes sense, I think even sometimes the conversations are very curated and cherry picked to the point where it's like you putting people in a box to where, like, whatever they say that doesn't really agree to this box, it's gonna sound crazy, right? Because it's the way you frame it. It's the way the conversation is framed. And so, so this guy, he has like guests on there, and a lot of guys, they has sometimes he has guys on there, but most of the time he is talking to a panel of women. But yeah, this brother on there, and I've seen him on some other Red Pill podcasts. His name is Marquette. His Instagram name is Marquette Devon. And but let's hear what he got to say about this. So he's talking about women and talking about like the way they love versus the way men love, and talking about children. All right. So let's hear what he got to say here.
You guys are filled with love and affection, pure love. Like me, if I had a son and he couldn't play sports, I'd be legitimately disappointed. I wouldn't tell him, but he'd probably feel it. I love you less than my other boy who can shoot the three ball. I'd love you a little less. But my wife, who's a good woman, she gonna love that kid all the same. She's not gonna feel any difference based on that kid underperforming in a basketball game. It doesn't matter to her. That's why I'm needed to make sure that he can perform, and she's needed so that he knows it doesn't matter if he performs. That's the beautiful balance.
I'm gonna let that soak in.
Let it marinate.
Let that marinate a little bit.
See, and it's crazy because they, obviously the women don't agree with that, right? The silence, and they, you got the host there saying like, oh yeah, let that marinate a little bit. So, and I responded to this. And we're gonna look right at my comment right now. And I said, some of his sound bites, and I'm talking about Marquette Devon, some of his sound bites he cooks. But this was a wild miss. Loving your son less because he can't hoop or play sports is wild. As a father, you're supposed to tap into whatever his interests are. And I said, it's not like the odds of your kid going pro are good. Your son can perform in other realms in life, right? So, yeah, like I just that did not sit well with me, because I'm just thinking like, yeah, sure, we can talk about the yin and the yang of men and women and what their roles are, but like that's not what that is, though. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it is. If my son decided that because here's the thing, my son was on a path where he was not really interested in too many sports. Now, even though he was not interested in a lot of sports, I still got him involved in certain things, right? Because I think a father's job is to definitely push their kid, right? But if they can't perform in sports, yeah, it might make me feel some type of way. I mean, I might be a little disappointed. And that's all it gets into, because it's like, dang, like, this is something that we can't bond over this. I mean, but to say I'm gonna love him less because he can't shoot, this dude said the three ball. Like, that's some, like, black brothers don't even talk like that. You know what I'm saying? But and y'all can go onto his content. He say a lot of stuff about the black community that might make you feel a type of way, right? Like, where he feels like he's not even part of the black community. But that's another topic for another day, right? If we get into that. But to say you're gonna love your kid less is kind of wild. And again, I was at that point where my son, he didn't seem like he wanted to take the sports, even to the extent where he didn't want to play like sports video games and things like that, like whether it's 2K, Madden. But sometimes it's about like the socialization of your kid. Like, who sometimes your peers are his peers, that your child's peers are gonna be. And again, that we don't like to think that, because we like to feel that like when our kids are young, that we have all the control over what they do, and we do have final say. But in terms of what they actually like, sometimes it don't it won't always gravitate. I mean, like, your kid might not always gravitate to certain things, but like it was wild. Like, it was like my son played basketball now for 2 years. Last year he swam for the first time, like, as a sport. He's gonna swim again this year, and it was, all it took was he had a sleepover with some friends like that he knew from a while back, and I mean, this was set up through his mother and things like that, and like, all of a sudden he wanted to play Madden. Like, he wanted to play Madden, and he was even asking me about like jobs, and because then he started watching like sports content on YouTube, because he's big into YouTube, and he started watching sports content, and then he wanted to play Madden, and then he's telling me he wants to play tackle football, and that's the one. Football was definitely one sport where he was like, nah, I don't know if I want to do that. That don't really look like something I want to do. Now, is that something that made me like, oh, and but it's not something. It didn't make me love him any less, right? Because I was willing to dive into whatever he was into. So when even if my son wanted to be a YouTube gamer, right? Well, you know what I mean? I have a platform. What I mean? I do this type of digital stuff, right? I'm in the digital space. Like, and if he full-fledged wanted to do something like that, then I would support him in that, right? My son plays an instrument, right? So I'm supporting my son in instruments. If he was artistic, I would support him in the arts. If he liked to just read, and if he was just into like being intellectual, you know what I mean? Maybe if he was into STEM, I would do whatever it takes to kind of help him perform in those different worlds, right? And I'm not just banking it all on sports, right? And I'm not gonna love him less. So like, yeah, men and women do need each other. There is that yin and yang, but I don't think that's part of it, right? The mom does give that son unconditional, I think a woman is supposed to give their son that soft, nurturing love, right? But then a father is giving them that tough love, but that love that has security and strength. Like there's just a strength to it. And it's that I think a man helps to build that boy's confidence, right? But a woman helps to build their child's self-esteem. And we're talking about boys in particular, yeah, that self-esteem, like, your self-worth, and how you view yourself. But then that confidence, and your confidence is how you show out into the world, how others see you. Yeah, the other people see you as confident, but self-esteem is about, like, how you view yourself. And I think if we're having a conversation of what men and women do and for their kids, I think that's what they do. The women give their children the self-esteem, whether it is a boy or girl. And then I think the men, you give your kid that confidence, right? Like, yeah, I mean, and granted, obviously that confidence can turn into arrogance real quick and things like that. So I don't know. I don't know. What do y'all think, man? Do y'all think y'all think he was wilding a little bit? I thought he was wilding. I thought he was reaching a little bit. And this is a segue into another thing that's talking about sports, right? And talking about like families and things like that. And there's two quick little videos I'm gonna play about this. And it is just this idea that, like, sports are not the end all be all, right? And I think financially, and I think even like our family structures are starting to suffer. And here's the thing, it's telling when certain people talk about these things, because then it's not just like it's not just happening in the Black community and things like that. It's like something that, like, universally, like, parents are seeing certain things that are affecting the families. All right, so let's get into this. Let's get into this next video here. Hold on 1 second here. Share that screen again. All right. So I'm gonna play the first one, and then we're gonna play the second one right back after that. So, are kids sports taking over your family? So let's listen here.
Travel sports are destroying American families. Period.
Okay.
Period. And you, as a well-tuned in mom, are feeling the pressure. If you don't do this, from these external coaches, if you don't do this, then your kid's not going to make this team. And if they don't make this team, there's no way they're going to get on this. And if they're not on this team, then how are they going to, right? You feel that. And
right.
It makes sense. And you have a 10-year-old telling you, I love this. I love it. I love it. I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. And then you got that feeling in your mom gut that, like, something's off. Travel sports are just.
All right. So that travel sports are destroying.
When I think about how much.
All right. Travel sports are destroying the American family, right? American family. So that's one thing, right? So we're going to hear this next part, right? We're going to hear this next part.
Money we've spent for a fourth grade, an elementary schooler's softball hobby, it's laughable.
Right. If you just invested that in a 529, you'd be able to pay outright for Oklahoma, and she could be the best intramural softball player in the whole, right?
Buy Oklahoma soon.
So here's my thought on it. it's our job to ignite passion in our kids, to support them, and to set boundaries for them.
Right.
And so I'm all like I say, my kids have to do something athletic, something outside, something as a part of a team. That's so good. And they also have to know this house does not revolve around you. You have a seat in the middle or the back of the bus that is driving, because it revolves around me and your mom.
When I think about how much
Facts, right? So, I mean, just kind of talking about that, right? Like, we're talking about sports and things like that, because I think people of my generation and that are parents now, right? Like, we're seeing sports look totally different than they looked in the past, right? Because it was, you sign your kid up for something, you go to a couple games and this and that, right? Now, probably because of one, capitalistic, society, right? So these youth sports leagues have figured out ways to monetize it, right? And then now we have social media, right? So with social media, we see all these kids, we see these child prodigies, we see people extending their seasons, right, and getting into training. And now we have, like, AAU, we have travel, we have all these different avenues to keep the sport going all year round. However, yeah, I agree with him in certain ways. So the one way is destroying the families, which was in the second clip, is financially, right? Because you got these parents that are kind of like, there are probably some families that are making some big time sacrifices to have their kids involved in certain things. And part of the reason why is that it's almost like you have to, because the recreation league really doesn't exist anymore. Like, they do exist, but like they don't to the same effect, right? So it's all AAU ball, right? Everybody's trying to go pro now. Where AAU and all this training to get your kid better, one aspect of it that is great is the fact that, like, it could, the gamble is that, at the very least, even if they don't go pro, the gamble is that, like, well, if we do this investment, right, then at the very least, my kid can get a free college education, right? So, like, so a lot of it is based on that, right? Where it's like, yeah, we can get, my kid can get free schooling, and we're set, and that's one less thing. However, even still, like, how many kids get scholarships to play sports? And granted, it doesn't have to be Division 1. I mean, it could be Division 2, it could be Division 3. There's other forms of that type of stuff too. But still, even that, the numbers, especially if we're talking about basketball, like, the sheer numbers of that is so minuscule. Football, you know what I mean? It's the numbers are higher, but these Division 2 and Division 3 programs don't have the same kind of scholarships. You know what I mean? They don't have the same kind of money, because, like, football might, even though it's a revenue sport, it's probably not bringing in the revenue for everything. But also too, I think it's just this aspect of, like, even, is your kid even good enough, right? Because there's probably, I want to hear this is what we're gonna probably start hearing in the next, like, 5 to 10 years. We're gonna start hearing about parents being vocal about their kids doing all this travel sports, this AAU stuff, and, like, how they went nowhere with this type of stuff, right? Like, I think we're gonna start, like, this is because it's still relatively young. Like, this stuff is like, obviously AAU has been around, but, like, the boom in which it is, because it's not even just basketball, right? Like, we're seeing it with, I mean, baseball. We've been seeing it with baseball, but seeing it more with basketball. We're seeing it with soccer. Lacrosse is now a sport where, like, it gets pretty crazy with the club stuff. Volleyball, like, if girl, like, with girls especially, volleyball is one of those club sports that gets, like, pretty crazy. I think tennis, but even though tennis is still more individualistic, tennis is one of the things. But then, even now, football is doing it with the 7-on-7, and shout out to the guys, the coaches, and everybody that's helping to develop these young people. But, like, the football one is wild, because, like 7-on-7 don't translate to, I mean, like, maybe mentally, like, if you're a skill position player, and there's only a handful of skill position players on the field, but like, you know what I mean? It's not for like, it doesn't 7-on-7 doesn't translate to real football, because now we talking about offensive lines. We actually talking about tackling, right? It's one thing to pull a flag, it's another thing to learn how to tackle and execute on defense, right? So yeah, we're seeing it on all these different sports. So that's one thing. The finances of it's probably, and that's what they chimed in on, is how much money are these families investing in these sports, offer, and what if like, your kid reaches a certain age, because we spend a lot when they're really young. What if your kid gets a certain age and they're like, I don't really want to do this no more? And then you just probably think you probably that's what gets the parents into like being, probably controlling and things like that, where it seems like it's the parents' dream as opposed to the kid. But it's like, no, it started as the kid's dream. But it's like, since they gave up and I already invested X amount of dollars in this, now no, we got to see this shit through, right? But then it's like, um, what could we be using? We could be using that money for something else, right? Granted, maybe it is investment for your kids' education, but maybe it is just throwing money in the trash. You know what I'm saying? So money is one aspect, but another way is destroying families, is because at the end of the day, and people don't like to hear this either, like your kids are important, right? But when we talk about marriage and things like that, your kids are secondary. Your wife, your husband and wife, the marriage, that's what you need to be relying on. And so this travel sports, they're taking, we're getting our families out. And granted, we're spending time as a family, but like, not like fun time. Like, this is probably like a lot of times it's high stress time, where we're away from our houses, right? We're not, probably, having those cooked meals. We're not having those family gatherings. We're not, um we're not doing, I'm not able to teach my sons how to do certain things around the house and things like that. On a Saturday morning, we're not cleaning like all those different aspects, right? Like, we're not home building anymore. We're outsourcing, and we're going out and we're doing these things. We're staying in hotels, and again, we're spending money, and all these different aspects. But it's like, it is taken away from the marriage. It is taken away from the mom and dad being mom and dad, and we are putting our kid at the center. And like, it's like, that's never been a winning formula. Like, that's never been a winning formula. So is it destroying families in the long term? Yes, it will. Does it sound extreme when we first say it? Yeah, it does. But the extreme is provocative, and the provocative is what makes people react and change their ways. And it might make us a little bit more conscious. Like, that's one thing I'm afraid of. Like, if my son finds a sport that he really loves, that requires all these extra leagues that he has to get into. And I ain't gonna lie, if I gotta spend like, if I gotta spend, half of my Saturdays of the year, Saturdays and Sundays, my weekends, if I gotta spend it, traveling to some AAU game in another state, that's gonna wear me out. That's not something that I'm looking forward to. Like, I like doing things. I mean, if I have, whenever I get a wife, I'm gonna want to do things with my wife. I'm gonna want to take my wife on dates. I'm gonna want to go on vacation. Like, I'd rather go on a vacation, spend money on that than some of the stuff that we're doing. Especially when, people are using all this travel stuff, and we're kind of going around the system in which the kids get recruited and drafted and on that stuff anyway, and it is through high school sports and things like that. So maybe it would behoove you to be a bigger part of the booster club and things like that. Maybe we need to, if our kids are wanting to play some of these extra sports and play in these extra leagues, maybe we need to teach our kids how to crowdsource and raise funds to do those extra things. Because yeah, like, no, I'm gonna be a part of the booster club. We're gonna make sure the team is straight at your high school, if you make it, right? But yeah, that's the thing too. If my kid don't make it, like, if he wants to play basketball and he don't make his middle school team, and he don't make the high school team, you think I'm about to spend money to put him into an AAU league? No, like because at the end of the day, I'm gonna look at it like he probably just can't hack it. Like he's not like that. He's not like that. So like that's where it kind of starts too. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's something to think about, man. It's something to think about. But I would definitely hate to be away from the household and the family week in and week out. Um, especially all the traveling and all the money that goes into it. So I do agree. I do feel like it can be, and it is detrimental to a degree. All right, let's move on. Let's move on, man. Let's move on. All right, let's see. All right, we got that. We got that. All right, let's talk about music, man. Let's talk about some music. And we'll get into some good stuff in a second here. And there was just a report, there's just a headline, a report that Post Malone has just gone has he already broke the record. So back in 2023, last year, actually around this time last year, he broke the record for the most diamond certified singles. So if you know RIAA, that's who certifies if your record, if your song is like, or album is gold, platinum, but then diamond is the next step, right? And diamond is like one of those things, is it feels mythical in some ways, because it's like what? Like, you know what I mean? So diamond is 10 million, 10 million plus, right? 10 million plus. So, gold is 500,000, platinum is 1 million, but diamond is 10 million plus, right? So last year, Post Malone, and quiet is kept, right? He broke the record, and last year he had eight singles, because three went diamond like around the same time, and so he passed Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars has six diamond singles. Post Malone now has nine, because as of like just recently this year, he just surpassed that, and now he has nine. And I'm trying to think if they give us the songs. Let's see what we got. Just some certain songs that are included in that. White Iverson, Congratulations, Rockstar, Psycho. That's the one featuring Ty Dolla Sign, Sunflower. All right. Um, let's see. Wow just reached diamond status, so that's six. There's three other ones that I don't have here on deck. Oh, Circles, that would be seven. Better Now, and then I Fall Apart. And I ain't gonna hold you, man. Like, I like Post Malone, and there's a lot of people that I know that don't like Post Malone, and obviously his audience kind of transcends. It's weird because he's dipping in and out of genres, right? Because I thought he was just trying to do country music, right? So, but then he was on some rap and stuff, but then he kind of went rock and roll a little bit. So like, I don't know what, where we rank him and things like that. It's an impressive feat if you think about, getting ahead of somebody like a Bruno Mars, right? That's amazing. To be ahead of somebody it's surprising to me that Taylor Swift doesn't have a stat like this. Like, how many diamond singles does she have? Beyonce, like Rihanna, like we're talking about big artists, like some of the biggest artists, and they don't have, like, and we got Post Malone. Now, Post Malone, maybe I think maybe in certain circles, maybe he is elevated above a lot of people, but I just don't look at him as like and maybe that's me hating, but it doesn't really make sense. It's like, how do you have all these songs? And I'm just thinking, like, even in America, like, I don't even hear, like, here's the thing, like, I don't necessarily hear white people talking about, like, raving about Post Malone. They rave about Taylor Swift, right? I've heard white people rave about Bruno Mars and things like that, other artists, right? But I never really hear too many white people that are like excited about Post Malone, right? Even though I like his music, there, and then in our culture, right? Like, there's a lot of people that, they it's almost like they don't trust it. Like, they're like, he is cool, whatever, but like, y'all can have that. Y'all can have that. So like, where is he getting this stuff? Does he have, like, I wonder if like his international I wonder if his international success is bigger. He also holds the record for the amount of times platinum something has gone. So the song Sunflower from the Spider-Verse, 17 times platinum, and that's the record, right? So obviously, like, I think maybe because Post Malone is tapping into an audience, like maybe he's tapping into like a youthful audience. If you're getting your songs into movies, right, that probably helps and things like that. And again, maybe he has like some type of international success that we don't know about. But like to me, that's a surprising stat, right? So he's a powerhouse, man. He's a recording powerhouse. And I guess he has an album that's out, but I don't know. Again, I don't know what genre it is, but we'll see, man. Maybe he's looking to kind of extend that. You know what I mean, and I'm wondering if there's anybody in the hip hop community that can even come close to that. I wonder how many diamond singles Drake has, right? So speaking of Drake, let's switch gears here. Switch gears. And so every week, man, we've been giving y'all more updates on what's been going on, what's been happening, right? And then so Drake did a thing, man. Drake did a thing. It was after we recorded last week. It was on Saturday, and he dropped a song. And I think it really was like kind of like Friday night into Saturday, mostly. Is that I'm trying to think because I talked to one of my homies about it a little bit. And so he made a song called Tailor Made. Made a song called Tailor Made. And I think initially it made people like people didn't really know how to react to it. I think it made people uncomfortable a little bit. I think it made people like it made people criticize Drake off the rip. So it has a song called Tailor Made, and he uses AI. He uses AI, right? And what he does in this song, it's not really a diss song, but like you might lump it into like a diss against Kendrick. But basically he's using he's using AI technology to rap the voice of Tupac, and he's using an AI technology to rap the voice of Snoop Dogg, and then he finishes off with like a third verse where he's like kind of rapping and addressing the beef. But like basically the idea behind it is that all right, so these are two West Coast legends. The beat is like feels like a Dr. Dre beat as well. And you got a West Coast legend that's passed away that is like kind of like giving Kendrick a pep talk. And a lot of the things since he's speaking through Pac's voice, he's coming at himself, like he's coming at Drake, the Tupac voice, which is Drake. Drake is rap Drake, and you could tell it's Drake because of the flow patterns and things like that. Like you could tell that it's Drake rapping in using this AI technology. And then he does the same thing with Snoop Dogg because Snoop Dogg several years ago he passed the torch to Kendrick, right? So these are two West Coast legends that I'm sure Kendrick Lamar like looks up to, and they're just. And again, I remember we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, I mean, Tupac ain't really West Coast, but we gonna call him a West Coast guy for the sake of argument. For the sake of argument, and giving a pep talk to jump out there and get in the beef, and people are like really analyzing it. It's like, well, yeah, because the first song that came out, Push Ups, when before Drake actually put it out on streaming platforms, a lot of people thought that was AI. So like what Drake is doing is like he's breaking the fourth wall, right? And he's going beyond and he's saying like, "Oh, y'all want to accuse me of using AI? Well, I'm gonna use AI purposefully, right?" And again, I'm just poking the bear. I'm trying to get Kendrick Lamar to respond. And yeah, we going on 2 weeks, man. We going on 2 weeks almost, and we still have not heard a diss from Kendrick. And I'm wondering, how much does time play a factor, right? Because obviously today's society, we move way faster than they did in past years, and a lot, and when we're talking about this rap beef, we go to the heavy hitters. We go to the songs that really stand out to us, the beefs that really stand out. And when we talk about rap beef, we talking about we can talk about Big and Tupac, but we talk about Jay-Z and Nas. And I'm wondering. I heard on the Joe Budden podcast last week. He was like, Joe Budden was saying like time doesn't matter, like time doesn't matter. And he was saying that like if a guy can drop the next day or like really fast, that was just icing on the cake. He's saying that's not the criteria. Like that's not the standard. Like you don't have to respond right away. However, again, we're on social media. We've had some beef on social media, but like this is the biggest beef that we've seen on social media. And so like, and again, time is moving fast, right? So like the days go by, the days feel like weeks, the weeks feel like months. And so like the longer it goes, 2 months it feels in the digital world, it feels like 2 weeks feels like 2 months. You know what I'm saying? And so when is he gonna record? But if we think about it, if we try to be fair, if we try to be objective about it, Hove performed the takeover at Summer Jam 2001, Summer Jam. And that was in June, right? Performed the takeover, put Nas on that Summer Jam screen, and whoever else that he was coming at. He was coming at Prodigy and stuff like that. Like, so he performed that in June of 2001. September 11th, 2001. So the day the towers go down, right? Jay-Z drops the blueprint. And so we hear the recorded track of Takeover officially, right? Like that's when that comes out. Ether don't come out. So, and this is Nas was strategic. People don't remember this. Nas dropped Ether December 4th. Y'all know what December 4th is. December 4th is Jay-Z's birthday. It has a song about it and everything. So from the time that Jay-Z dropped the takeover to when Ether comes out, it's 6 months. To when it's out on a CD to where we can listen to it and replay it, it's like 3 months. So are we being too harsh on Kendrick? And this is a question. I don't think so, because I'm giving my take, but are we being too harsh on Kendrick? Because if we want Ether level bars against Drake, isn't it going to take some time? Like, is it going to take some time? Like, it's not something that's going to happen right away, right? Like, it's something that it has to cook a little bit. So, but again, we're in a different era. And you have to kind of adapt to your current climate. And again, going almost 2 weeks is not, it's not what. And people are criticizing Drake. Well, Drake took some time. And this is another point that I heard made. Like, if you are dissing somebody as a feature, I don't have to necessarily respect that the same way as if you make a song dedicated to me, right? So, because that song like that is not all about Drake. It's only some of Kendrick's verse, and J. Cole gets into the mix of that too. Um, but it's just wild. It's just wild. And you know, how long are we gonna wait? If we wait too long, if too much time goes past, are we still gonna care? Apparently, Kendrick Lamar allegedly has he has an album coming out in May, perhaps. And again, going back to the song Taylor Made, Drake makes a claim that Taylor Swift is his new boss, and like he has to go through Taylor Swift before he drops anything. He's not allowed to drop anything until she gives us permission. And I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. But but then the newest headline is, and where this story has evolved, is that the estate of Tupac's estate is threatening to sue Drake. And so they I guess sent the cease and desist letter, and they're saying basically that he didn't have permission, like the AI is an illegal use of his likeness, and that he would have denied it, or like even if he would have asked for permission, the state would have denied the request and things like that, right? And this is where it gets tricky. So obviously, this is where the conversation about AI, this is where the danger comes into play, where people are saying like, well, no, like if we allow AI to take over, that means that you can literally do anything, and you can record songs without people's permission, and like it's illegal, it's stealing and things like that. This is where though it's like I think Drake was smart in certain aspects, because some people are like, well, man, there's AI stuff all over the place. Like, are you doing cease and desist letters to that? But this is where Drake was smart. Drake didn't put that song out. Like, it's not on DSPs, right? It's not on digital streaming platforms. So you can't go to Spotify, you can't go to Apple Music, you can't go to Tidal, look up Taylor Made and listen to that song. You can't go to Amazon, you can't go to Pandora, like you can't go to these sites. Like, you have to find a clip, like a clip that somebody else put out there, and which Academics is one that put it on his platform. Like, you gotta do that in order to hear it. So like it's not really out. So like when you're not when you are making something like that, like same thing with mixtapes, right? The mixtape era. The reason why the mixtape era was allowed to go on. Now, granted, there was a big raid back in the day, and like a lot of shit got shut down, like mixed unit got shut down, and stuff like that. But like with mixtapes, the reason why artists were allowed to rap on other people's beats was because that music wasn't technically out. Like it was out, but like you couldn't play those songs on the radio because that means that it was. And if you ever looked on a mixtape cover, it always would say for promotional uses only, meaning that I cannot make money off it. Like the people that were making money off mixtapes were the people that were selling the CDs. It wasn't the artists. Like the artists weren't getting a kickback off of that. Like you couldn't go platinum from a mixtape because one, it wasn't your beat. I mean, and it wasn't the record sales or the mixtape sales were not counted in the same way. Now, granted, we have sites like Dat Piff where you could listen to the stuff and they started to keep track of that. But again, it wasn't like officially out. Like you couldn't consume it the way that music was meant to be consumed. And so like that's what I'm thinking. Like I think like that's what I'm saying is I don't know if they even really have a leg to stand on because Drake didn't actually put it out. Like it's not an official song, right? So what could they do? Could they because like if you have it and you're playing it, then that's it is. Is it on Drake's I don't know, like is it on Drake's SoundCloud maybe? And maybe he would have to take it down from there. But like I don't know if the song is gonna go anywhere, and I don't know if the Tupac estate, I don't know if they really have a leg to stand on. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I didn't really want to get into this too much because I didn't really dig too much into it because it sounds like hysterics, but we see that Kanye West has now inserted himself into the beef and he performed a Like That remix and he's coming at J. Cole, he's coming at Drake. But the funny thing is that people are pulling all these receipts on Kanye and they're like, yo, you can't talk about because one of the things is saying, like, oh, I can't think of a Drake line, but he literally was on Drake Drink Champs when they were supposed to be cool or when they were getting cool. And he was talking about how like Drake writes for him and like he wishes that he could have Drake write all his music for him. So it just kind of begs the question, like I think Kanye is he has an album coming out as well. He has an album coming out as well. I don't know what Vultures is doing. I don't know the first Vultures if it's really like hitting the way that he wants it to hit. But Kanye has to be in the spotlight, man. He has to be in the spotlight, and not enough people are talking about him. And so it was some that like so he went on Justin LeBoy's platform then, and it was a lot of nasty work, man. It was a lot of things that he was saying, and basically how Future hit up Kanye, and they were plotting the elimination of Drake. You know what I mean? And he said that everybody in the studio was energized. And I'm just like, damn, you know what I mean? So like the beef, man, is bigger. It's bigger than we think. I think it's deeper than what even some of these artists are even like telling us about. But it's getting a little nasty, man. It's getting a little nasty. And you got these old heads, and some people are like, oh, Rick Ross, you don't belong in the beef. Rick Ross, I don't care, man. I had it in my comment section, like people saying that this was weak. That it was hot. And if you listen to the song, Rick Ross don't even waste a second to start rapping. Like it ain't even no build up. Like he rap like 2 seconds in, he's already starting to rap. And and it's funny. I had a comment that was like, they was like, yo, people are trying to debunk diss tracks, whatever. Like, what kind of world do we live in? And I'm thinking, like, yeah, like when you think about it, like truth makes a diss probably sting more, but a diss is about disrespect. A diss track is about talking shit. So like I don't have to be fully accurate. I can just say some disrespectful stuff and even if it ain't true, like I can still get that shit off. Like Nas was saying a whole bunch of stuff that it wasn't true about Jay-Z, but like he got that shit off. You know what I mean? A lot of like random insults about Jay-Z that don't really matter in the big scheme of things, but he got that shit off. You know what I'm saying? Jay-Z returned fire with Super Ugly, saying some stuff that like in the scheme of light, like it don't really matter. but like he still got that shit off. So it's like when like truth is good, but like let's not take away from the fun and the competition of battling. Even with battle rap itself, like they a lot of stuff they're saying about, like they are saying some truthful stuff, like when they really dig in, but like some of the random bars are like, I mean, it's not true. Like it's like, he's not about to kill him for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like these guys, this is their job. Like this is what they do. So they're not. So it's just getting into that mindset of like, what does the truth matter in a beef or not? And if a rapper is saying things that are untrue, does it make the diss weaker, or are we more focused on the disrespect and the audacity that the artist had to say certain things about the other artists? I don't know. What do you think, man? What do you think, man, about this growing beef? Do you think Kendrick is going to drop this week? Let me know in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think. And then let's move on. Let's move on. We got a couple more things, and we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna try to make this kind of quick here because we gotta go soon. I gotta get into the gym. I'm about to get swole, man. About to be looking real good for the summertime, man, I'm telling you. Okay, yeah, let's get into sports. Let's get into sports. So, all right, so we got this is gonna be, I think this is gonna be really, we got a little bit of Ryan Garcia. We'll end it with that. But all right. So Caitlin Clark. All right. So last week again, we reported that it was like, they ballparked it $20 million, right? So we got the details. We got the details of the Caitlin Clark deal. So Caitlin Clark signed a deal with Nike for her own signature shoe, all right, and she's gonna be a Nike athlete and things like that. So the bag, she got the bag. She got the bag. Like it's a nice bag, right? So she got $28 million for 8 years. All right. So and let's for layman, this is layman's terms, right? We're gonna break this down. So if somebody says, and this is even in sports, it's even in sports, if they give you a contract amount and then they put years on it, right? There's literally a slash there and it'll have the years. It's because you're supposed to divide that, right? So if an athlete gets a contract $300 million for 10 years, they are not getting, and again, I might not have to explain this to everybody, but just for people that aren't not privy, because what I mean, that don't mean that they're getting $300 million every year for 10 years. No, it means that they're getting $300 million over the course of 10 years. So she's getting $28 million, which, okay, all right, over the course of 8 years. What? Like, what? $28 million for 8 years. That comes out to being $3 million and some change, right? 3 million and change, right? So actually, what, 3 million change? Yeah, so about 3.5 million per year, right? Over the course of 3.5 million every year for 8 years, right? So again, is that bigger than her salary? Way bigger than her salary, right? She's making what, $75,000, $76,000 in her first year. Even if she was making $100,000, right? If you do the math, it is like, all right, well, just say if she was making $100,000 a year, right? 10 times that would be 1 million, and times three. So, yes, it's like 30 times her salary. You know what I mean? It's like 30 times her salary. You know what I mean? However, when we think about and we could do a little comparison, because I don't want to die on this hill, but I'm just thinking like, all right, that's chump change. Like $28 million is nothing to Nike. Like it's literally nothing, especially when they're giving out bigger contracts every day. You know what I'm saying? So like $28 million is not that much overall, and then especially over the course of 8 years. So losing, like, even if they don't profit anything, losing $3.5 million every year because of a Caitlin Clark shoe is not gonna hurt a billion-dollar company, a multi-billion-dollar company like Nike. It's not gonna really hurt them too much. So I feel like if you're gonna sign her and you're gonna give her a big deal, a 8-figure deal, you would think that it would be over less time, because here's the thing. She has a deal with Nike for 8 years. there's likely a non-compete clause in her contract. So like she probably cannot don, meaning wear, she cannot wear or sport any other companies. Like and they don't even have to sell sneakers. Like it's probably other sports companies that she cannot do that. So she will have to get endorsements outside of sports, right? Because Nike is a sports brand. Like and that's who she signed to. But like she probably, she's gonna have to get like State Farm commercials and cell phone commercials. Like, I mean, she's gonna have to get like endorsements through other things, but like probably even Gator, like she probably can't even. I don't even know. I don't know if that's if that counts or whatever. But like, I wonder even like Gatorade would they even give her a bag because whatever her contract is with Nike. Um, so I feel like 8 years is a long time because, and then I wonder, like, what is the average career span for a female basketball player? And somebody, one of my somebody in the comment section on Twitter was telling me there was like 3.5 to 5 years. That's the average. Now, obviously, the stars stay longer. They last a little bit longer, but like I don't know if women are playing like even if she plays, I don't know. Let's give her 10. Let's give her 12 years. So 8 year contract. By year 8, she could still be ascending, or she could probably already reach her peak, right? In terms of her skill level and her ability. Because again, remember, she went to school for 4 years. She's not 20 years old. She's not 19, 20 years old. She's closer to 20. She's probably 22, closer to 23 years old, right? So in 8 years, you know what I'm saying? She's gonna be 30. She's gonna be at least 30 years old. So I feel like 8 years kind of boxes her in, right? Boxes her in, and it doesn't allow her to get another contract with somebody else. Um, Again, if there is a non-compete, it kind of boxes her into where like she can't do other things. But for 8 years, that might be the bulk of her career. That might be her career. Maybe she only plays for 8 seasons. So that makes you feel like it feels like, I'm not gonna say, I hate the word, but it does feel like a 360. It feels like a slave deal almost, where it's like, because if she's as big as we think she's gonna be, or as companies think she's gonna be, I would assume that $20 million would be easy for them to recoup in just a couple years, maybe even in the first year. I don't know. So like, if she recoups that, like, are they going to renegotiate her contract if she goes above and beyond? Again, I do think the market is going to depend on who has access to these shoes. They have to make. I mean, I asked some people like, would they wear some Caitlin Clarks? Some people were like, yeah, I would wear Caitlin Clarks. There are other guys that are like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not wearing no woman's shoe. And I think about that, really, like, there's not even a lot of like clothing brands that have a woman's name attached to it that men wear, right? So again, if they want to cross the barrier, it's Nike, so make a make male sizes for it. I don't know. I wonder what the shoes are gonna look like. They have at the end of the day, they have to look hot. Like, they gotta be cool shoes for people to rock them, and that's the part where it's a that's the mystery. Right? What are these shoes even gonna look like? But we'll see, man. We'll see how this develops, where this goes, and yeah, man. Like, well, it did she get enough? Should she have gotten more? Real quick, I meant to make a comparison. So when LeBron was a rookie, right? His rookie deal with Nike was 7 years for 90 million, right? 8 years for 28, 7 years for 90. Now, is she LeBron James? Probably not. Probably not. However, y'all giving her a lot of hype. Y'all elevating her to a certain extent. That's gonna stand out. That's gonna stand out. So you got that deal, and then Victor Wembanyama, he is allegedly, like, he supposedly got $100 million for his rookie deal. So like, are we talking? Because if we're talking about players that never played a minute of pro basketball. You got one guy getting 90 million, you got another guy maybe getting 100 million, and then you get this woman, she's making 20 million. Now, does she deserve more? You know, the verdict is out. We don't know yet. But again, if we're going to elevate, right, all we doing, and especially if we're going to show the numbers, we're also showing the disparities as well, right? And people are going to see the difference. And It's gonna make people feel some type of way, and maybe they should feel some type of way. But we'll see. We'll see. And then last thing. But what do y'all think, man? What do y'all think, man? Are y'all gonna go cop some Caitlin Clark's? Do you think that she got enough money? Do you think she deserves more money? Do you think she deserves more money? We'll see. We'll see. And then last thing. Oh man, Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, and I don't have a full breakdown for y'all, man. I'm just gonna give you a little bit of reaction to what I saw, and first a reaction to myself is I'm kind of disappointed in myself because last year, you know what I mean, we figured out, we got the sites, right? We got the websites so we could watch the free shit, right? And so I saw all the pay-per-view, I saw all the major fights last year. Like there was like 4 or 5 like really big fights, and I saw them, Jones, and it was like it was great. Like, and people, because people would criticize boxing, and I'm like, shit, if you saw all the fights, you wouldn't think that last year. I would say last year was an amazing year for boxing. Like last year was an amazing year. So like if people like you only criticize if you didn't see it. So Saturday, I knew that the fight was coming on because I just talked to my man about it. Like I just seen my homie, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that fight tonight." And I was like, "Oh shit, whatever." So I had it in my head, and then I don't know, I was just fucking around. I had my son with me. We was watching some TV. I probably played some video games. And I mean, had him go to bed late. And then I kind of forgot about it until like it was like, it was like almost 1 in the morning. It was almost 1 in the morning. And I'm looking at my phone and they're talking about the fight. And I was like, oh, snap. So I tune in, right? Because I'm like, oh, it's probably over. Somebody probably won. They probably won. I tune in and it's the start of the 11th round. The start of the 11th round. And then like I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm seeing. And then 11th round, I see Ryan Garcia knock Haney down. And I'm like, oh, and they're like, oh, yo, this wasn't the first time in this fight. Like, yo, usually if you do this 3 times, like, if you do this multiple times, like you're the winner, man. Like, yo, he's probably up in the scorecards now. So I'm thinking, like, oh shit, like I missed this fight. Man. Seeing them late in the late rounds like that, man, Devin Haney looked beat up, man. Like he really looked beat up. Ryan Garcia looked clean. He looked clean. Like he looked like he was really unfazed. He looked like he didn't really take too much damage. And yeah, man, he did some weird taunting at the end, and I don't really like it. The post fight interview in the ring was really weird. Like, and I'm thinking like, man, like either Ryan Garcia is slow, like in some, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be the effects of CTE and stuff like that. Or he's just weird and corny. You know what I'm saying? Because he was doing a lot of weird stuff in the ring, saying some stuff. He just and obviously you're allowed to talk your shit, man. Like, you was in a ring, for 36 minutes, you know what I'm saying? 12 rounds, 3 minutes apiece, and you going toe to toe with somebody, using a lot of energy. And so when you win that fight, you know what I'm saying? Are you allowed to talk your shit? Of course you are. You're allowed to say whatever you want. However, it's just, I mean, you're allowed to say whatever you want, but we're also allowed to react however we want. And I just was like, I don't know, this guy's a little strange. And he showed he was strange throughout like the preparation for the fight. And he was saying this, a lot of it was just like antics. I mean, like like we shouldn't hold him accountable. Like we shouldn't like kill him for some of this type of stuff. But Haney loses, gets his first loss of his career. Ryan Garcia kind of redeems himself from last year's loss to Tank. Devin gets to keep the belts though, right? Partially because Ryan came in overweight. So like, and it was the deal, like the fight was still going to go on. He was 3 pounds over. And so he can't be the champion. Like, so he can't be the champion. However, they're saying that, and I don't, this is the part where I'm not that learned when it comes to boxing. But like, and I see this all the time, like, yeah, like you're allowed to come in, like after you weigh in, it basically seemed like you're allowed to weigh whatever the fuck you want to weigh. You know what I'm saying? Because they said that like he weighed like 17 pounds more than Haney in that fight. And he's saying like the bully got bullied, the weight bully got bullied. That's what Ryan Garcia said. And you know, a lot, man, that weight type of stuff that matters, man. That matters. I mean, it helps to pack a punch. It, you know, when you're leaning on somebody, that weight, you know what I mean, like the other person has to use a little bit more strength. So I don't know, man. Devin Haney, yeah, he got exposed, man. Last year he kind of got exposed a little bit through with Lomachenko, and it just seemed like Devin Haney, you know, that's the one thing about I think his fight. There's nothing really flashy about Haney. Like there's nothing. We don't really see the knockout power from him. He's not like, you know what I mean. He's probably he's an efficient boxer, right, in terms of what he has to do. And I think he's just been trained to death. I mean, I think he's been trained well, and I think he has a dedication to the sport that make him that's gonna set him apart from other people. But like, yeah, Devin Haney don't got that. Like, he's gonna have to go back to the drawing board, but like, he don't have that star power. Like, he don't got what Crawford got. He don't got what Floyd Mayweather got. He don't got what Tank got. And even what we just saw with Garcia, like, he don't got what Garcia. Like, Garcia must have got some. You know, he got some punching power. Like, he's not flashy enough. Like, he just don't. He don't. And you don't have to be flashy as a boxer, but he don't have nothing that really sets him apart from other fighters, other than his record. You know what I'm saying? And like how long he's been fighting, like, cause he's been fighting a long time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he goes. I guess he's still the champion. You know, they're gonna have a rematch, and we're gonna see what goes on with that. I'm hearing though that like Ryan Garcia is not gonna fight at 140 anymore, so I think he's gonna move up to a different weight class and try to fight different guys, get different belts. But yeah, man, that's where we're at. Tank fights Frank Martin this summer, like I think early in the summer. Canelo fights in May. So yeah, man, we got some fights. I think Crawford and Spence that has to be heating up, and like the rematch, I think that's gonna happen pretty soon. So man, yeah, man, I think boxing, you know, I think again, if you watch the fights, it's great. Like, boxing is great, but like if you miss them, then it feels, you know. And I wish I could give a bigger breakdown on the fight, because I normally do watch them, or have last year, but I don't have that much sauce. But like, it just don't seem like Haney he just doesn't impress. He doesn't impress, man. So what do y'all think, man? Did y'all check out the fight, man? Did y'all see it? You know, NBA playoffs is on right now, man. You know, teams are going crazy. Seen some good endings to some games. You know, this is where is this going to be the rise of Anthony Edwards, right? Where he becomes the face of the league, because everybody's calling him the best player. Luka's there, you know what I'm saying? You got, you know, the Nuggets looking like they could repeat, you know, the way they're playing. But we'll see, man. We'll see where it goes. But again, if you're still watching the channel, man, I need y'all to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, share the content. And this is episode 146 of the 280 Plus podcast, y'all. I'm out. Peace.